Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. This week's guests, yes, that's plural, come by way of the Carolina Classic. I have the match director, John Royer, and the section coordinator, Stephanie Berry, on the show so we can discuss it. Now, John's been on here before, and hopefully it won't be her last. So if you would, join me in welcoming the two of them to the show. Welcome, guys.
Hey there.
I don't
Hey,
know
Dave.
that was even captured. You guys, as John and I almost got into it, the discussion before the show started is the culmination of quite a bit of coordination.
Yeah, a lot of late night text messages.
Oh, I can
Yep.
imagine. So, but that's where I want to start because John was saying before he started doing this match directing stuff, he didn't understand why matches were being released for sign up like a year out where people could start signing up for matches. So, obviously that means that they're beginning their planning process. But I wanted to get into a little bit more detail with you guys. Now, Stephanie, you're the section coordinator. John was the match director. I don't even know how that relationship happens. So how do we get a match director, and then when does the meat of the planning begin?
Yeah, I mean, I think the planning begins at least a year out, if not longer. But the match director piece is even longer than that because you're working to figure out which range can host, who's going to be your guy on the ground that can do everything, and that can happen. I'd say a year and a half. Sometimes it could be up to like 2 years in advance, trying to figure out the logistics of those pieces.
Okay. Now, I know this was John's last hurrah for now as match director of the Carolina Classic. So do you already have the next match director selected then?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
It's not.
So you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying we have the match director selected. We're still finalizing like details, and going through like board approvals for the club. But yeah, we do have the
Okay.
next steps.
So the location is still being finalized, but the person heading it up is done. That's already been chosen.
Yeah, it's not like
So now,
it's a big secret or anything. It's just we're working on dates, but it's going to be next year back at Sir Walter with Robert Walker, who does their monthly USPSA match. He's going to be the match director again, and he's done it. He's done it so many times in the past, and he was previously a section coordinator, so he's very familiar.
okay, is that Dylan's dad?
Yeah, Dylan's dad.
Okay, all right, there we go. Now I can start putting faces with names. I've seen some people now. So now, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but were you not the match director last year?
Correct.
Okay, so you knew at the end of last year's match you were running it back.
Yes. Yeah, I think, Steph, correct me if I'm wrong. It was pretty much after the match was done. Everything went well, and we're like, all right, let's do it again next year. I think we just kind of looked at each other like, all right, it worked, so let's do it. Let's do it again. So
I believe it was
Okay.
over ice cream in front of Nathan Carter's trailer there.
there you have it.
Like the ice cream you had on the back of the golf cart you were delivering to everybody?
Nathan Carter also gives out ice cream when you pay cash, so he was just giving some out to staff, and so I think we were celebrating.
Okay. Now, before we get into the planning part, do you guys, so when Keanu Sai did Area 8, when he was the match director for Area 8, he sent out a Google survey to all of the competitors. Do you guys do anything like that with the Carolina section, the Carolina Classic?
We do. We haven't every single year, but we did just kind of to get a pulse. We did one this year for staff as well as for competitors, and we left it just very simple. I think it was 3 questions. It was kind of like a score 1 to 10. You know, would you shoot this again? What are we doing right and what are we doing wrong? and getting that feedback from folks.
Okay. So now, John, you were the match director last year. After you guys got the results of that survey, did you tweak anything or make any changes based on that feedback?
Yeah, we did. So I mean, every like after the match every year, something always sticks out in my mind anyway. You know, something big, whether it be not enough toilets or staff dinner getting there too late. You know, so it's a combination of the surveys and just things in the back of my mind, like, all right, we need to improve on this for next year.
Anything in particular?
I
Yeah,
think the
I mean, I
biggest
could tell you
feedback
every
this
year what I
year,
did wrong. If you want to,
Well, what was the one thing that stood out from last year that you're like, all right, we need to change that for this year?
2 years ago, we opened the three bays on the lower end of the range were opened up for us to use, and we didn't have enough
Okay.
bathrooms down there in that corner. So we had a we had a shitty situation on our hands down there, all pun intended. So
Pun
you know, it's
intended.
something like that. It's like down there in the corner, we need six toilets down there for next year. You know, just little things like that. And last year we did the embedded RO thing, and I was an RO, and I ordered food, and I thought I could go get the food and come back by the time everyone was ready. And by the time I got back, half the ROs were gone, and we had a lot of food left over. And I was like, dang, that wasn't my intent, but um, it's still,
Okay.
I guess it was still better than the first year because we didn't have a staff dinner at all. So I guess it's just little things like that you try to improve on.
All right. So you've done this 3 years in a row?
4 now.
For
Oh, 4. Okay.
20, yeah, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you not have a staff dinner just because that you were new to it, or what was the reason for
That would have
that?
been COVID year. So there was yeah, that was September of 2020. So that was kind of COVID time. So, you know, it's kind of right there. And I mean,
Okay.
And I think too, it's
how do we
partially,
handle that? How do we deal with large crowds?
Go ahead,
part of it
Stephanie.
too, and money.
Yep.
With COVID, the attendance has been down at matches. So I know as a match, we weren't doing the staff dinner because it was, we were making sure we could break even. So even the last 2 years that we've done it, we're better in a better place financially, but John's taken that and seen it as a need for the match and does his part of his sponsorship because he's there as a match director, but he's there as a sponsor as well. And that's part of his sponsorship as he makes sure to sponsor the staff meal. So that's what he's done the last 2 years.
So you don't just give away ammo to shoot on a bay. You actually help. I thought you were giving
Yeah.
away ammo. I saw the sign driving in. I'm like, oh, free ammo. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my bait and switch.
Yeah, I like it though. That was good. The little fine print at the bottom of the sign.
There was fine
Yes.
print. I didn't
I
see
tried to
that.
get it as small as I could get it. There was,
What
yeah.
did what did it say?
Yeah.
Not actually free ammo or
It
something
said,
like that.
yeah, it was like sort of or something, something like
Yeah.
that.
I did not see that.
You'd have to be right next to the banner to see it.
So how did you guys split up the responsibilities? Like what did John manage and what did Stephanie manage?
I was saying, why don't you talk through what you did, John?
I did a lot of the range logistics, going to the board, um, making sure our props, walls, stuff like that. Targets were ordered, paint, pasters, the hard range stuff, the hard goods. Make sure lumber and water and ice and keys to the barn, keys to the classroom. So everything range related. That's what I did.
Okay. So did
Yeah.
Stephanie, you just handle all the administrative side then, or?
Yeah, all the administrative, the money, the logistics, the staff, the sponsors, not even all the sponsors. I'd say I handle like the administrative stuff with the sponsors, the stuff that no one else wants to have to deal with, like tax receipts and things like that. Uh,
Mm.
a lot of the times John would send over just like a text message. By the way, so and so is going to sponsor the match. It was like, all right, sweet, let's keep going.
So then when
Yeah.
he would do that, would you reach out to them after that?
Yeah, we coordinate with whoever the sponsors were because there's things like graphics we have to get to make sure we can put them like on the website and the match book. Getting whatever it is they're going to donate shipped over to John so he can bring it to the range. Getting things like banners. It's a lot of like nitty gritty, and I think anyone who's like a true match director that likes dealing with like the setup at the range and building stages, that's probably like the worst part of a major match is having to deal with like the sponsors and the logistics because there's just so many pieces to like keep track of. So that's part of the thing I take on.
Dave,
Go ahead, John.
she made a form on the website, on the NC section website as well. So if we found a potential sponsor, we could just send them that link and they could go to there, fill out all their information, and it go directly to her instead of me sending an
Mm.
email, say, hey, fill this out, email it back or whatever. So if they fill that out online, it went directly to her.
So Stephanie, do you do computer stuff in your day job or?
I kind of I deal with marketing tech, so I try to simplify processes. So like that's why I'll
Okay.
have like the website updated for staff or sponsors, just because the less I have to deal with things or kind of go back and forth via email makes more sense to me. And a lot of the times now too, a lot of the sponsorships want that laid out. I think there's been a lot of sponsors in the sport that get burned out because um, they're not getting kind of what they ask for back out of a match. So we kind of lay it all out there and say, hey, these are our terms. This is what you're going to get. This is the package. If you want to opt in, you absolutely can. Here's the easy way to do it. Here's a form, or even for staff, we put all that out there so that folks aren't having to like reach out and ask questions about that. They have all the information there.
So do you have? And I've been on the website though. I like the website. Um, this is kind of off the wall, but do you have web page design background, or is that part of your media stuff that you're familiar with?
I I used to back in the day. I'm like so outdated now, but I was, back in when you used to like
Oh,
code a website with HTML, like that's when I did it. Now I just use
okay.
templates for everything like everyone else.
Okay. Oh, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, I totally get it. So, all right. So here's the crux of what I'm interested in for sure. Do you guys have key markers in place? Like at 6 months, we want this done. 90 days out, we want this done. 60 days out, 30 days out, 2 weeks. Do you have a template like that, or are you just doing what you can when you can?
I mean, I think it's a bit of both. We do have a template we've developed. John and I share because I'm this type A person. We have a huge like Asana project for every year with like all the tasks laid out. And so I think it's just, we have it there so we don't forget all the things that we have to do. But I think a lot of it too is when we can, between family stuff, work stuff, like when we find time on the nights and weekends, we'll try to like knock things off that list.
Okay. So, John, on the match side of things, um, like how far out? I know you said that all of the stages were designed by other match directors in the state. So you get a little bit of a taste of all the different match directors within North Carolina. But how far out from the match did you have all those stages in and to USPSA for approval?
I think I sent out the request to the match directors 11 months out. And I'm trying to think on the fly here. I think 11 months out, I sent the email. And then, a month or two later, most of them came back with something. So say 8 months to 9 months out, I had all the stages in SketchUp. And then probably, actually, I dropped the ball. I had everything submitted on the website, on USPSA's website in May, but I forgot to hit the upload button. So it's pretty stupid on my part, but like everything was there for, I think I put it in like in February, and then Steph reached out or something in the Sonic kicked up, and I went back and looked, and I never hit submit. So I mean, we were still what 4 months out from getting matched approved anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. But
Right.
yeah, I tried to send all that stuff out right away to the match directors and get that done, so we could get, because the longest thing was me putting everything in SketchUp and laying it out how I needed to with Rowan, like steel and kind of moving things around in our bay, stuff like that. That takes me probably a good 2 months to do.
So
And when
which
I
one of
when I say months, when I say months, like Steph said, that's working a couple hours a week on it. That's not putting 40 hours into it.
right? Yeah, I get that. I mean, you've got your day job you've got to do, so you're just when you're finding time, you
Yeah.
get stuff done. That's why I'm curious when you guys started all of this because it's a big thing and it takes time, but I mean, all three of us have a regular job. So how far out are you having to start to get this thing complete? That's
Yeah.
not simple. Now, how long did it take for you to hear back from the USPSA that everything was good?
This year wasn't bad. I think it was maybe a week or two, right, Steph?
Okay.
But years
It
past,
was fast.
I'm gonna sound like a butthead when I say this, but in years past, like it was weeks leading up to the match, and that's the same timeline. Putting
Oh,
everything in February, March, and last year I remember it was worse for sure, and I had to reach out to a couple people over there saying, "Hey, know, what's going on here? Am I good? Am I not good?" But this year went through quick. So maybe and talking to other match directors, it sounded like they went through the same deal. So hopefully they changed some of their processes to make that streamlined a little bit better.
I think now the way it seemed from like the portal in USPSA, it got fished out to one of the RMs that is like approved to do that right away. Because I think this year it was Kevin Immel who went through, whereas in years past it kind of always went to Troy, and Troy was left to like pick if he wanted to do it himself or farm it out. But then it would kind of just die in his inbox, and we kind of you have to poke the assistant there or the secretary for the DNRI. So
Yep.
process is good in this case. It's taken months
Yep.
before.
yeah, maybe they changed something there because I mean, there's a lot that those guys have to do as it is. So being able to delegate is a good thing.
Yep. Agreed.
So how far out, John, did you start laying out the stages?
That would have been as soon as I started getting stages back from the match directors, I started laying them out. So 9 months, say, yeah, that 8, 9 month range, somewhere in there.
And then just putting them on the ground the week prior, the week of the shoot
Yeah. So our setup day was on Thursday. We got it done in a day.
in one day.
hmm
How many people did you have? What did you do? Go to the local prison?
I actually there is a local prison, so I'm not going to give out all my secrets. Yeah.
I think you had
Oh,
12 build people this year, but
Luckily, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, yeah. Luckily, I suckered some people into coming out and helping. When you have an ammo company and some of those people come and help, there's kind of a type deal.
a way to entice them.
So, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Or bribe.
so
Yeah. I
the
mean,
the bribe, yeah. There was no blackmail, I promise. So luckily, some of the people that help set up are our normal Rowan club match people. So they know the deal. They know how, because our range, we have to be careful with the shotgun field and the long range behind our pistol bays, just the way steel falls. So we don't want it splashing, getting into them. So, kind of have just some little range rules we have to deal with. And those guys know that. So, yeah, we had a kick-ass setup crew. I mean, that's really all there was to it.
well, and I was just at the Virginia State match, and they start setting up the Monday prior to the weekend to get it all set up and done. I know I helped them. Was it 2019? Might have been 2019. And one of the days it was like literally 100 degrees. The beginning of October. It was crazy.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was nuts hot that week. Oof.
How many people set up their match? Like that match?
At that, I mean, I've only seen maybe a handful, and when I say a handful, maybe five
Wow.
at most at a time. Yeah, we would have to do, there'd be like um, two or three stages getting set up would be a good day. Four would be a really good day. So I think Dave Ankeny did most of them this time. I could be wrong, but I think he did most of the setup of them throughout the week. So
Wow.
Last year we started Wednesday. We did a Wednesday and Thursday, half a day Thursday, but that was too much. Like it was just too many days for on the range for what we needed. So we backed it up to just one day.
holy cow! Wait a minute now. You
Now
got
you say that, yeah, I know that makes us sound like such sissies.
yeah, it's like
Maybe I shouldn't
oh,
have said
that's
that.
too much time. No, we
Uh,
got to cram it more
I
in
know
one
I'm so
day. It's
so prissy.
ridiculous.
Sorry, I know I might get
Well,
split.
I
Yeah.
think that was one of the lessons learned though, because we went last year was the first year we did the embedded RO, where we have some staff that work an alternative schedule and they work as staff on staff day running like timer and tablet. And so we were trying to accommodate some folks that are regulars at Rowan. And so we did set up Wednesday, set up Thursday morning, and I think it was like one squad that you guys were on, shot through all day, like or all afternoon Thursday. But it was we were rushing in the morning to like with the RM there to make sure the stages were cleared. The folks who shot in the afternoon that day too kind of got a raw deal because they're exhausted from setting up in the morning and then they're kind of rushing through the stages to shoot. So it was a neat experiment, but it was one of those like lessons learned where it was like it just wasn't fair to those folks that had to shoot that day.
Looks good on paper,
Yep.
type of a thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, if you're setting all the stages up in one day, and where in the world do you find time at the end of the day for the range master to come in and check everything? So you got to be done at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to give him time to do that.
Oh.
Okay, he doesn't want to answer.
Well, he drops off. I'll walk through that. We've actually worked with, at least in the 5 years I've been doing it, we've worked with really great range masters. So we've had Mike Adams for like 4 of the last 5 years. He'll usually come up around lunchtime or just before, and he starts walking through stages before anything's nailed down. So like we've never had a build day go, and this sounds like bragging, and it is, but we have like the best setup crews. We never have a build day that goes past 4 p.m. So the RMs are
Wow.
there like helping check angles because they're looking for safety issues primarily. And then we'll
Right.
have a few folks that are like, if the stage designer is there and they're trying to get the intention of the stage right, they'll walk through before things are nailed down. But I think this year with Gary McConnell was our RM this year, and he came in and he was like helping build the stage, like he was helping point out safety issues and maybe
Mm.
giving some feedback, but like he was actually helping to build the stages. I was not expecting that.
So did you guys have any of the stage designers available on Thursday to help with the intent of the stage?
Yeah. Ike was there. Ben came in.
You were there.
Brian Wolf, me. Yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
maybe less than half of us were there.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, how much did you guys talk about the stages while they were being constructed? Um, Kind of like just touching base with each other or looking at each other's stages as they were being constructed to make sure there wasn't something like overlapping targets, where you can shoot through one and into hit another, things like that. Was there any of that, or did you guys just go, okay, you have 1 to 3, I have 4 to 6, and everybody go and build?
So what I did is I printed out. I printed out the overhead view, and then on the backside, page 2 was a supply list. So they took that, and as people showed up to the range, I just grouped people together. Groups of two, groups of three, and just asked them what stage they wanted to pick out. So they grabbed the stages and they went to that bay and they roughed it in. And then as Gary came in, or Ben, or the original stage designer, whoever it was, they just kind of looked things over before anything got nailed or stapled. So everything was roughed in, and then multiple eyes got set on it before nails got put down.
Okay. You guys have this process down. Holy cow. That's pretty solid. So staff day was Friday. I got there later that evening. I guess about 5:30, 6, somewhere through there. You guys were already in the building. I mean, you guys were having a party in there. So you said that you guys do your staff dinner on Friday. Now, what made you choose Friday over Saturday?
Saturday's a long day. It's a 2-match day. So we start earlier than we would on staff day, and we typically go later. I think this year we went to like 6:30. People were shooting, and it's just really late. I think a lot of the times people just want to go to the hotel, shower. And I think it's just better. I feel like there's more camaraderie when you do it on Friday because everyone's talking about how they shot the match or the stages they liked. That was my view on it, John. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And that was going to be my comment too, is we were eating by 5 o'clock. So, we had 3-4 hours of daylight left. And yeah, Friday's kind of just like she said, it's kind of an easier day.
Stephanie just touched on it. You guys on Saturday, so it's all staff reset. But on Saturday, you have the squad Saturday morning come in and shoot the entire match in the morning. And then you have an afternoon set of squads come in. They shoot the match the entire afternoon. And then on Sunday, you have bigger squads come in who shoot all day long, all the different stages, all in one day. But from, I think, I want to say you finished at like 3 or 3:30. So it still wasn't even that long of a day.
Yeah, we try to finish early enough so like we have time for breakdown. It's not dark, and people can drive home that same day, staff and competitors.
So which day fills up faster for you guys? Is it Saturday or is it Sunday?
Saturday PM.
Oh, Saturday. Oh, well, that would make sense. Yeah. You don't have to get up early and you're still done by evening.
Yeah, you get to walk stages in the morning. Like that one will always fill up maybe the within like a week of opening registration.
Oh, wow.
Everyone wants those spots.
And you guys sold out this match, correct? This time?
We
This
did.
year, I
We
mean?
we always have like a portion of folks that just don't show up. They don't withdraw. They don't show
Right.
up, and but we had actually sold out a few times. Like we went through a wait list a couple times, which was great.
So what was the feedback this year on the stages? What'd you guys get back?
The number one response I got, like in person and on these surveys we sent out, was grip tape on the balance beam. I think people have seen like a lot of the videos, or Duda's video where he was doing like a slide down the balance beam on stage 5. But
Right.
I think we've been lucky. We haven't had any bad weather the last 4 years we were doing this match. So this year was the first year we ever got rain on any of the days, and we've never before, like we've been prepared with things like bags, but we've actually never had to rainproof a stage. So I think that's like the big feedback for next year is take a look at everything on a stage. Get waterproof targets is what we're going to do next year as well, and just have them ready, and hopefully we never need them. But rainproofing stages, so having things like grip tape available so we can fix things like that before we shoot on the first day, just in case it does rain.
Okay. Yeah, I think even if I remember correctly, John, weren't you the one who when I interviewed you said it was slick, so you had to be careful when you got on? Oh, no. I know what it was. It was slick, so you chose
Yeah.
one spot in the middle, so you only got up and got off one time.
Yeah, I almost yeah, I almost lost it just doing a walkthrough in there. So just had to. And the thing about it is we were looking like uh, Thursday during setup, we were keeping an eye on the weather, and when we were done setup on Thursday, like it was only like a 10 or 20% chance of rain, and then the longer Friday and Saturday went, and the chances started going up. And yeah, looking back, I would have done something different, but I mean, I'm not a weatherman. Even the weathermen aren't weathermen, so you just got to do what
Yeah.
you got to do and roll on with it.
I mean, they're only right 20% of the time. So
Yeah,
yeah, and it poured Sunday morning. Holy cow, that was
yeah.
nuts. So all the feedback was good then. John, I did do a quick interview of you of the stages when you finished, even though you weren't all wanting to do the interview. Um, but now you've had time to digest everything. It's past. It's over. How do you feel the match went, and how do you feel the stages were for the competition out there?
I would still agree with what I said. I so I don't really get any criticism either way. So maybe Steph gets the brunt of my misfalls, but I mean, just being a competitor and shooter, I liked them. I think I they represented, I guess, what our match book was like when we first put all the matches in practice score. I think like that they lined up with what everyone's vision was. At least I hope it was. As far as the match directors, the people that submitted the stages, I hope it was in line with what they were thinking, and the shooters were happy with how everything felt on the ground and what the match book showed. If that makes sense.
So the stages on the ground matched the what you had in the match book for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I think they were as close as what we could get. They're not. Yeah, I'm
They're
not gonna
never
put
going to
that
be
number.
100%. So,
Correct.
but it's not like Carry Optics Nationals where there were a lot of changes.
Yeah, and I didn't want to say, but since you did, Dave, yeah, we'll bring
I
it up.
know.
But yeah, and yeah, that's just. I mean, that's just part of me being at Rowan, being a member there, knowing, having experience, blah blah blah. So that I don't know what I'm trying
Right.
to say. It's all part of
It's
the
all
deal.
good. Well, Stephanie, did you get any other feedback, whether personal or through the survey, about how the match was run overall? And I asked that because you handled all of the check in. You, from what I saw, you did all of that each morning, each afternoon, but you weren't just doing that. Like you were in the golf cart delivering food and doing other things as well. So what type of feedback did you look from my standpoint, you know, unbiased, objective third party? I thought it was one of the smoothest matches I've seen run. So I'm curious what you guys got for feedback.
Feedback, and we've gotten it in years past too, is just about like food. I know a lot of matches have like food trucks on site, and they'll usually do them for like staff and competitors. And, we might try to do that next year. It's just we've seen that go like really wrong in the past, where staff doesn't get their food on time, staff gets cold food, and like that's kind of just goes against my showing folks like they're appreciated, like having a cold lunch and not getting a chance to eat it. So we've typically avoided that, but it actually led to an issue this year, because typically we've had like a break on the schedule for lunch, but with the rain this year, I think things started to get a little bit backed up just in the times when from bagging, and I'm bagging targets a couple times. So there's like a break on the lunch on the calendar on Sunday for a lunch break. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh yeah, if they want to stop and eat, staff, they can. They don't have to. But I didn't enforce it. And Gary McConnell like kind of showed me what the effects were when I wasn't there to see them firsthand. But it was like some staff did break for lunch, some staff didn't break for lunch, and then it led to a bit of backups. So because there were some stages that just kept running through, and there were some stages that stopped, and so like that kind of messed up the flow for Sunday, and so that's a lesson learned for future years. If you put something on the schedule, if it's there, you need to enforce it, just to keep things running smoothly. But even with that said, with some of those backups, with some of the rain, like you saw, we were still done by like 3 or 3:30, which
Yeah, it was still quick. And those were full squads and on every single bay. So yeah, it still ran smooth. And I know what you're saying. Now my question is this: you guys, I don't know who chose that deli, but that food is awesome. Thank you for the lunch. That was amazing. Um, but there wasn't a food truck or something out there, and the only complaint I ever heard the entire time was on Sunday. I think it was up on stage one. There was a shooter that was thinking there was going to be food on site for them to be able to purchase. So my question is this: like, I was just at Prairie Fire, their grand opening in Nevada, and they gave people an opportunity to, during their registration for the grand opening day, to actually pay a little extra for lunch to be provided.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you would consider going forward? Maybe where the match staff would still like collect it from a deli, but it would actually be divvied up to the competitors that paid for a lunch.
I wouldn't say it's off the table. The thing is just the logistics of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if it wasn't, if it was like everyone across the board, it'd be easy enough. You tell everyone like, okay, everyone on the squad, stop shooting. We kind of did this on staff day. Stop shooting, go grab a lunch. If it's pick and choose, you have to figure out who it is on the squad who got a lunch. Did everyone get a lunch? You have to take a tally. People have their nuances where they want to eat certain things or they don't want to eat other things, and so you have dietary
Right.
preferences. So it's one of those, like, I'd rather, if we're
Mm,
gonna have a food option, have people be responsible for their own food. But it's also like food trucks are
okay.
great in that they're mobile and they offer those options. But food, if you get the wrong kind of food truck, it can take forever. And unless, if like you're a competitor for that day, like it's not even reasonable to think that in between what, even with a staff reset match, it can move so quickly that you're going to place your order, get your food, and have a chance to eat it within like a reasonable time frame, because they take forever. My ideal would be like bribing a bunch of Boy Scouts to like set up some barbecues with like hot dogs and hamburgers for competitors to just come up. But even that, like I've tried that a few times. It's remarkably hard to get in touch with a Boy Scout troop.
Oh wow, that's too bad because you get to pay them like $10 a head. Add it into the registration, give
Yeah,
them $10 a head, and say, "Here you go,
yeah.
just supply it."
Earn your cooking badge or whatever badge.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe make a little money for the troop. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Yeah, that was the only thing I heard the whole time. Now I do have a question. Setup. At first, I'm not going to lie. I was like, who was on crack cocaine when they labeled they numbered all the stages? Because I'm like, 1-9 what? I'm like, what in the world is going on? I was so confused, and then it made sense. It's like, oh, everybody travels literally the same number of steps from stage to stage, shooting the entire match. So it made absolutely perfect sense. You just had to wrap your head around it at first. Um, but I got to ask, did Ben have a headache after doing chrono in that spot down there? And I asked that because that center block wall, when I went down there, and you have people like Chris Gelnet who's shooting 50 cal plus P plus through his open gun. Holy cow, the echo and the reverberation from that. I walked away because I was like, that gun is nuts. But so I'm curious if you guys have had, if those guys had any issues with that down there.
Yeah, I think they put up with it, but it's not ideal. But it is nice. Like we've had it in years past where we didn't have the dedicated chrono bay there, so I think it's a nuisance with the blast coming off the wall, but it's so nice to have right there, and so you're not shooting into the woods anymore.
Right. And and look, I mean, when it was just a minor power factor gun, you didn't have that issue. it was literally only limited to some of the open guns. And I always pick on Chris's because his is one of them. Kevin Garospi, who's a GM up here, open shooter, same thing. You know, you get like the 6-inch or 12-inch flames coming out of the compensator on the front. It's nuts. I'm sure I've got it on video from the Virginia State match. It's crazy. It's like, my God, it's a howitzer. So, John, I do have a question for you. Did you guys use and I mean maybe this is something Stephanie coordinated, but did you guys use commander timers on all the bays?
We did. We had Bill do the scoring system.
Okay. I heard and I don't remember where I heard it. I'm trying to oh, I think it was Ben's podcast.
Hmm.
He mentioned something of that Bluetooth timer helped catch a scoring issue. Is that
Yeah,
are you aware? Yeah.
it worked both ways. Like I oversaw someone. So the commander timers are so nice because like when it syncs to the tablet, you can see like your shot times. Um, and we had one competitor in particular. It was really nice. He noticed when his score got synced and he was alerted of it, and he looked at it in the Practice Score competitor app. He noticed there was like a final shot that was like 4 or 5 seconds after. And it seemed suspicious to him. So he brought it up to Gary McConnell, the RM. And because we had the shot times, we were able to reverse the time on the tablet because obviously something else got picked up by the timer.
Right.
And so we were able to reverse it without doing a reshoot. One of the huge benefits of having like the commander timer sync with the tablets. The other hand, this is a huge lesson learned. Like I don't think it's well known, but we had that happen on a few stages where shots or sounds were getting picked up after last shots, and it was adding a couple seconds to people's time. Also, the importance of what these live syncing times, make sure as a competitor you're actually checking them and looking at those shot times if they're available, because we had several instances we found out after the arbitration period and the match closed where there was we noticed a trend on one particular stage. So all we can assume is that it was something to do with that the RO's style of wherever they were holding the timer whenever the slide was maybe getting put back, that it was catching it and counting it as a shot and then updating it to the tablet. So it can work both ways. It's very much a double-edged sword. And we've actually, Robert Walker, the match director for next year, has actually submitted a request to Practice Score right now in hopes of getting some kind of alert that comes up when there's a suspicious gap in time between a single final shot, to hopefully have that pop up in Practice Score. But we're learning now that that's something to educate ROs at matches on if they have that commander set up to like make sure you're looking at the par times between whatever that last shot is, or making it a habit to really put the timer further away from the gun when you're calling them clear.
Now, do you think that would be something worthwhile to add to the match book for the competitors to say, hey, we are using Bluetooth style timers. They've been known to catch errant last shots. Make sure you do check your times. I mean, do you think that's worthwhile or?
That's a great idea. I had it in there to train the ROs next year to look for that, but I'm going to make a note now because, yeah, it can't hurt to like have competitors, everyone being diligent. I think that's good advice.
Yeah, and I would think too, I mean, from a match standpoint, if arbitration ended, at least you could refer back, say, look, we knew this, we tried to make everybody aware, not just the staff, but the shooters as well, so they could also, because I mean, ultimately, it's their responsibility. If I'm shooting the match as a competitor, it's my responsibility to make sure you don't just take the little receipt or whatever and shove it in your pocket. Maybe you actually check it. So I don't, but I'm also not gonna win anything. So who cares?
Yeah,
so I'm not worried about it.
And it just in like full disclosure, it was brought to my attention because when this became known for one competitor, someone did the research after the fact. I think it was like on a Discord thread. It came up and it was like it did change the placement for someone, I think in Carry Optics. Like he had a shot that was picked up, and if he hadn't, he would have come in like second or third instead of where he did place, just because of that one. And he didn't look at the receipt.
Wow.
It wasn't brought to our attention, and It's just one of those, like, it's a shitty situation, but I'm glad we know for next year so we can actually look for that, because again, we'll be using those timers, and more, a lot of clubs are using them, and Duda's doing awesome by like sending that whole kit around and equipping clubs with that. So, but it is something to be aware of that we hadn't thought about in years past. I would say not been an issue in years past, but I actually haven't looked at the data. I have no idea if it's been doing this every year.
Well, and I feel like they're making the shot timers more sensitive. Like you're able to catch trigger pulls on dry fire and stuff like that. These things are becoming so sensitive. So if that's, because they're getting better, the timers are getting nicer, they're getting better, they're doing things they haven't done in the past. This just may be one of those unfortunate circumstances that comes with that betterment. So we all probably need to know.
Yeah.
All right, I got to ask you guys, staff reset. I'm gonna wait and get your answer, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on staff reset because I had never seen it before, so I was
Oh
able to
wow.
experience and watch it. So I definitely have some input or some feedback, I should say, not input, but feedback. But what kind of feedback do you guys? So you've done this together now for 4 years. What is the competitor feedback and what is the staff feedback?
I know I've been talking a lot, John, so I'm gonna give you a chance.
No, I think you're doing great. I'm just sitting back and listening. I mean, as far as staff, is that like the staff knows that they're going to be long days. It's going to be tough on them, but they still sign up knowing what the expectations are. And on the shooter side, like we have shooters that are coming down from the north, from Maine, Massachusetts, all that area, because they're kind of hearing about the staff reset and they want to come check it out. And they've never shot anything like that before up there, so at first they're kind of like, I'm so bored, and then at the end they're like, dang, all I gotta do is go to the stage and just visualize the stage for 20 minutes till I'm ready to shoot. So the I would say the majority loves the staff reset, both on the competitor side and the staff, just knowing that it's going to be tough on them throughout the weekend.
And even
Okay.
if it wasn't a staff reset match, staff still has to walk the stage. They have to look at every target that much more closely. If competitors were resetting it, they have to check the steel has been painted. Like there's still the time they're spending walking in that portion of down range. It's nicer like when you do have a group together and you can divvy it out and say, well, who's responsible for what? Like you can trust your team and that you don't have to worry about X, Y, or Z. You only have to worry about your three targets. And it happens so quick, just like if you're following behind the RO. And with the paster guns, we make sure like a lot of staff bring their own paster guns. A few years ago, we invested in having some in all the boxes on the stage. So we've got paster guns. It makes really quick work of it.
Go ahead,
And
John.
also, Dave, is that you're going to see a lot of the staff in other matches, whether it be South Carolina, Georgia, us. So like we're using a lot of the same people, the same men and women are staffing all these matches.
So they've got it down. They know the procedure.
Yep.
Well, and when I first started watching, I was like, okay, I could see where people would complain that, oh, it's boring. Or they're bored. Not boring, but they are bored. But immediately I was like, however, what I did note now that would only be to me, that would be an individual shooter who's there from out of town, who doesn't know anybody, so they're more on their own. But I have never seen so much socializing going on at the match as I did there. Like people were legitimately talking and joking and having fun and just discussing things. And the biggest thing I noticed, so this was my biggest takeaway, was zero stress. Because this is how I am. When I come off, like, let's just say I'm shooting, whether it's a nationals or a major, any other level two match or a local, I always feel like I've just finished. I've got to now get back, reload, clean my mag if I have to, if it fell in mud or sand or whatever. Like Florida, frostproof, terrible. Got to always clean your mags out. Hurry up so I can get back and start resetting, doing all that stuff, because there's only so many people there to do it, and we all have to do it. So I always feel like that extra stress of I have to do my part. There was none of that. It's like literally, it's stress free. You come back, you can literally contemplate what just happened, what you need to do, clean whatever you need to clean, take your time, get your stuff back together, talk to other people. And then when you're done, you just kind of hang out and go on to the next one. I was like, I have never seen such a stress free match. And I don't think people think about it from that standpoint. That's a different stress than the competition side, but I like it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, most folks, when they're going and shooting a match, it's like an 8 hour day at least. And so you're either prepping for a stage or you're getting yourself ready and prepared and you're resetting a stage. You can kind of have like little bits and pieces of conversation and you kind of generally know who people are. But even that, there's the stress of like paying attention to like who's on deck and who can you not talk to right now or who's doing what. And so I think it's nice. Yeah, it gives folks an opportunity to catch up with each other because the way matches are now, like the social aspect is largely gone from matches. People don't hang around for scores after a match because we have
Yeah.
practice score. They just take off and head home. Um, a lot of these bigger matches, they're not broken up because we're trying to make it so it's more accessible to folks, so they can shoot and kind of head home. There's no breakup or like a match over several days. There's no awards dinner. There's no other social aspect to it. So when there is the staff reset, people do get to know like folks on the squad, whether it's friends. Like we've had people that will reach out months in advance and say, I want to buy out an entire squad because they want to be able to like ensure that they can shoot with their buddies. And then there are other folks like they get to meet others, and whether it's from Maine or a local group, it's always like a nice to just see folks catching up or getting to know each other a bit better.
And I was at the Carolina Classic more during the day than I was at Virginia State, but I still spent a good bit of time at the Virginia State match, and I got two interviews out of Virginia State because I didn't, and those were two people that I knew that I had talked to before, so that wasn't an issue, but it was different because they were trying to watch and see what was going on before they shot. And then when they got done, they had to hurry up and do their stuff and get back to what they were doing. It was a totally different feel. Whereas when I was down there, I ended up posting 40 different videos and a bunch of interviews with people because they had that time. There was no stress. They were able to sit there and just relax and talk to me after they shot. And I was like, this is awesome. This works. So I hope I'm hoping that this will, like COVID, spread across the country. Because I like it. I think it works. I just hope there's enough people to do it elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't know why, but Area 6, like, 'cause that's funny. I didn't realize Virginia wasn't staff reset. Like, my brain just associates this whole southeast area,
Mm-mm.
but yeah, something about Area 6, like, all the big matches have been staff reset for as long as I've known.
Interesting. Okay. I don't feel like it would be difficult. I just don't know that it's been considered. So I'm not sure.
The guys you did interview in Virginia, was everyone giving them the stink eye when they were standing around talking to you instead of helping paste?
No, actually, you know what? When I talked to him, it was basically everybody was done shooting the stage, and the entire squad had gone around to the next stage, and then I felt like I was
Mm.
keeping him or them from starting the next stage brief so they could do their walkthrough.
Mm,
So it's a totally different feel in that environment. So it's interesting to know the two different feelings now, and it's much more difficult to do what I did at the Carolina Classic somewhere else that's not staff reset.
yeah.
Totally different feel.
Yeah, and to John's earlier point too about of the folks that work our match, like a good chunk of them work South Carolina, Georgia, sometimes like Area 6, whether it's been at Rowan or somewhere else. So it's really interesting because I've heard two different pieces of feedback this year too about from a staff perspective. So we always have like the groups that they'll want to work together. Like we have one squad in particular I'm thinking of, like they're like 5 guys, and they end up being always like the biggest staffed stage because there's like 5 or 6 of them now, and they always want to work together. So they make like a boys' weekend out of it every year, and I think they've worked Area 6 as well, and they do the exact same thing. But I heard the feedback too this year from someone else who's worked our match for a couple years now, and he said, he would go down and he would work matches like in Florida for a while, and it was like everything was really cliquish. So he'd go and work a stage, and he didn't care. He didn't know anyone. He'd go just be part of the staff there, and it was like a clique. They'd come together. They had their own like easy up, and they wouldn't like, it's kind of like a middle school cafeteria. They wouldn't let them under the easy up, and like wouldn't socialize, and like he left the match like not really knowing anyone. And so some of the feedback that we got is that they like that. Like we try to, if nobody makes a request for folks, we try to pair people based on like preferences, because we do ask staff as well, are you comfortable with a lot of movement? Do you want an easy stage? Are you okay with like resetting movers if we have any? And we try to take that into consideration, because sometimes we have people with physical limitations, and so they want like a smaller bay. They don't want to be walking one of the huge bays to reset like steel in the back every time. But when we try to like pair folks together, we always have these ones that have no ties to anyone else, so we get to pair them together, and they come away knowing folks. And like usually the way it works is if they come back the next year, we'll get a request that they want to work with that same person that they worked with the year before. Like that kind of just tends to be the way it works. And then they start to form these little groups, and they start splitting hotel rooms and all that stuff. So it's really neat when with the staff reset too, because they're in it together for a whole weekend. There really is like a sense of camaraderie. And now that we've been doing like the staff party the last few years, people are getting a chance to talk. We did something like last year, the previous years too, we'd always have like the match hotel, but we'd always tell people like, we can't drink at the range, but come down to the lobby of the match hotel, and we'll all just grab a beer or like split some pizza. And we've done that the last few years too. And like folks get to meet others that are working the match, because again, we're all there. We're a captive audience for the weekend, and it's really worked out.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, Stephanie, because when I first started helping at the Virginia State match a few years back, I was brand new to the sport, didn't know anybody, didn't know anything, and I helped on a stage with people who were CROs and ROs, and Kevin Ruiz and Kelvin Brandt are still people I would consider more than just acquaintances, even though we're acquaintances, because we spent several days together working that stage, talking, laughing, joking, the whole thing. So it does build a different type of camaraderie. You're right.
It really does.
So I have the, you guys may or may not know, I post stuff on Instagram showing participation numbers across the USPSA in major matches. So I have the spreadsheet up right here, and like everybody else, Carry Optics was far and away your biggest division of shooters, with Open, then PCC. I'm sorry, Open, PCC, and Limited Optics were tied. So you guys had quite a few limited optic shooters, and Limited was down a little bit further down the list, and then obviously not much for Limited 10 revolver, single stack, and even production was less than 10%. They're probably about, I'm going to guess, around 6% of the overall shooters. Based on who was there and what you know about it, are you expecting, Stephanie, what are you expecting next year? Similar numbers, or do you think Limited Optics, and John, same thing? I mean, do you guys see Limited Optics getting bigger, or how do you see these numbers going?
I was surprised to see Limited Optics be as big as it was, honestly, this year. Like, I know we talked about it when the registration had opened up. It was still provisional, like it was not required, but we had a few folks reaching out proactively asking if we were going to be able, like, we were adding that. So we went ahead and added it, and I was surprised we got that kind of attendance. I think it's going to get big next year, assuming it doesn't change before next year's match, assuming it's not concatenated with another division or something. But as it is now, I think it's just going to
Right.
get bigger.
Yeah, so Handgun Nationals coming up this week, it was only less than a month behind our match. I think that may have killed some of the PCC as well if those guys were going to LO or even production stuff. I think production was higher this year than it was last year with just guys getting ready or people getting ready to go up there.
Okay. And it's funny, even though Carry Optics was done in June, it's still
Hmm.
you still had it's almost 40% of your overall shooters were Carry Optics. And when you add limited optics in, it's literally 50% of your match was limited or Carry Optics. So optics are definitely ruling the day between open, PCC, Carry Optics. I mean, those are the biggest numbers out there.
Yep. I mean, we got to the point this year, Dave. If you're looking at our numbers, limited and production numbers weren't that far off of each other. I don't think, right? Because you said I'm making you go
I'm
back
pulling
and
it
look,
back
but
up. That's
yeah,
all
I
right. I'll
mean,
pull it up right here. What numbers do you want? What numbers are we talking
the
about?
limited and production.
Limited was it switched to the Minnesota section. Let's get this right. I was like, those numbers don't look right. So limited was 26 and production was 21. So there wasn't much of a difference.
Yeah, and I
But
I
limited
felt
optics. Go ahead.
yeah I feel last year production was probably maybe mid-teens ish. So, like I said, I think Handgun Nationals had something to do with kind of jarring those numbers up a little bit.
I don't know if, let me see. All right. I can actually pull those numbers up for you.
Yeah, I think my records show I have like 16 in production last year, and limited was like 47. So it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
tilting.
According
Man,
according to practice score, it was 18 production, limited was 51, carry optics was 128, and there was only a total number of 15 different between I think the numbers I had before. Yeah, practice score has 323 shooters this year and 308 last year. But yeah, production, yeah, I guess production had three more shooters. And I'm not
Optics
sure.
figures that out.
So, yeah. And actually, if you think about it, I guess you would say that limited was the big loser. They lost
uh,
25 shooters compared to last year.
and not only that, you look at the production shooters we had this year, like the GMs. We had Ben, Tyler. I think Andreas signed up, but I don't remember seeing him. So I mean, there were
He didn't
more
Yeah.
come.
GMs in production than there was in limited. So there was, I don't know, it was just some craziness going on.
Yeah, limited had 0 GMs, production had 4. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. It's funny, the numbers reversed because for limited, you had 0 GMs, 4 masters. Production side, you had 4 GMs, no masters.
No masters.
No masters. Oh, that's funny. Open had the most number of GMs. Carry Optics only had 3.
Oh,
But yeah, but they had the biggest number of masters and then everything else from there. So, and as usual, B class is the largest class of shooters there is. Even overall, let's see here. Yeah, even with those numbers added in, yeah, B class far and above everybody else. C class is 800 shooters behind them. So,
wow.
but for the year, now I don't know how many repeat GMs, but Open has all the numbers I have for this year. There's 181 GMs have participated in Open Division, but 227 GMs have competed in Carry Optics. Well, that's a lot of people.
Hmm.
Format. Did you when you this is the question I had a while back that I didn't write down that I was like, where's the question? When when you decided to send out a request for stages, in your mind, did you have any type of format like 3, 2, 1 or anything like that? Or were you, I mean, I don't know what type of instructions you gave these guys when you requested them, because you literally could have gotten 8, big stages. So did you send anything out requesting certain sizes or?
No, I just asked them. I think I just asked them to submit, 2 or 3 stages, and that's the only parameter I gave them, because
Mm,
I know guys like Ben, Jarrett, uh, Robert, they're gonna send me like 20 plus round stages. So then, me, I don't feel like I'm a good 32 round stage designer. So I'll make one. So I'll take a 10 or 12 round stage and I'll put it on what I think is our worst bay anyway. So I can kind of put a stupid stage down there and then let the big bays go to those other guys for the bigger stages, 32 rounds.
okay.
Yeah, but other than that, uh, I just try to put the just try to make sure that the flow's okay. Don't put a 32 round next to a 10 next to a 24. Just try to ease a 20, 25, maybe 18. Just something like that is really, there's no rhyme or reason. I just try to divvy it up by what I think the flow would be like and just go from there.
So you don't have any type of theme like I know there are clubs in Pennsylvania that are all about every stage is a 32 round stage. So for you, it's just more about match flow and making it a good match versus it's going to be a bunch of high hit factor stages or large
Yeah.
round count stages.
Yeah, I want it to be everything from 10 to 32, and I don't want all the starting positions to be loaded and holstered. We did a barrel, we did unloaded, we did wrists up, inside the shooting area, outside. Um, I just try not to get too crazy circusy with the props. With the movers, I should say. So drop, turn, swinger, bobber, and that's really nothing crazy there. Just try to make it simple, reliable, so you don't have a prop go down or you don't have to toss a stage. So just keep it simple.
Now, what did you guys think of? It was kind of last minute for me coming down, and I appreciate the
You kept it.
the media badge. Of course, I did.
I had no idea you made that. I thought that was a joke.
Oh, oh no! Here,
Oh
You get
wow,
me choked up.
wow.
yeah.
That
So
is extra, John. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, you guys show her the backside, because if I didn't have anyone
okay,
there, if I had someone go down, you're gonna be media and medic. So if someone needed
yeah.
mouth to mouth,
So
they'd be your
is
guy.
medic on what?
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, that's what you sign up for.
That's funny.
that's the price of lunch.
Yeah, that's right.
So, did you guys get any feedback about the videos or any of that stuff? Had you heard anything, or and this is also feedback for me. I was trying not to interfere with anybody, but also trying to cover the match. So, was there anything in that regard that you guys heard of? Because I know the one thing I wish I had done was covered the vendors a little more. So I know that next time I do something like that, I'm going to do more with the vendors. But I was hoping to get some feedback from you guys. Okay, well that's a wrap.
Go ahead, Steph.
I'm waiting for John.
Good.
No, honestly, I think people always love like having videos of themselves because I saw a lot of people like resharing them as you were rolling them out. I think it's interesting because you kind of posted up on a few stages so people could see like side by sides of how different levels of competitors, different divisions were shooting. But I think too it was very uh, I'm forgetting it the name of that YouTube series with like everyone back in the day when they used to cover the matches. What was that called? It's like anybody else watch this? I'm blanking. But it just reminded me kind of like the days of yore, some of the YouTube coverage that used to be done of like the shooting sports with like interviewing people and kind of getting their mental uh, plan after the fact.
There's like some shooting USA going on right there. Yep.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah. I had, so, as far as feedback from what I heard, Dave, I had just some people ask who you were and what you were doing. Not like what was he doing? There's like, hey, what's this guy over here doing? So it just kind of explained that he's just down here doing it because he wants to start a new YouTube channel. I'd never heard of him. He was some homeless dude in the back of Big Lots with a video camera, so we invited him out there. But they were just asking, who you are, where it was going to be posted, stuff like that. So, and there was a lot of people like you and I going back and forth in Instagram DMs or whatever, just like people I'd never seen before and didn't know who they were. So that was interesting as far as seeing other shooters as well.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's all the stuff that I had. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you guys wanted to touch on, or is there relief for you, John, to know that you're not doing it a fifth year, or you think you're going to miss it? A little bit of
I'm
both.
gonna, yeah, I mean, I'll probably miss it, but I'm still gonna help, help sponsor or probably help work it or be involved in some capacity. And
So you're going to shoot Saturday afternoon. Is that what I'm hearing?
absolutely, I already got my spot reserved.
Oh, goodness. So, Stephanie,
Yeah,
are you looking forward to doing another one?
For next year, yeah. So we're already getting everything going for next year. Plus, now that Ben won A6 this week, now we're taking the template and we're applying it to A6 now. So now we've got 2 matches we're planning in our house. So it's
Oh, goodness.
going to be a busy year, but yeah.
Are you going to keep being section coordinator with him being the area director?
I think so. I mean, it is still an elected position in the state, and I think this past November is when I got re-upped my 2-year contract. So at least through that, it does make it interesting though, because we are a 501c3, so it is something that if you hand it off, there's kind of some education that has to happen after that, because it's not as nice and compact anymore. But that complicates the entanglements. But no, I think I'll keep doing it until we're wiped out. And but it's nice because it's a template. Like we've done it at Sir Walter, we've done it at Rowan, and it's been nice. Like we kind of can apply it just to future years. There's not as much original work that has to get done every year. We just kind of refresh it.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming down, Dave. I was very pleasantly surprised that you decided to come down. So that was pretty cool of you. Thank you.
Well, if I didn't think I had an invite, I wouldn't have come. But I was very intrigued, so I definitely wanted to come check it out. I wish I could have shot, but it is what it is. So I definitely appreciated the opportunity to walk around, check it out, and I actually learned quite a bit just by watching how the match went. So it was very interesting. So, and I met Nathan Carter. I mean,
something to write home about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, not what I expected either. So,
I'm curious what you were expecting.
I expected an older guy because as I understood it, he had retired from the same line of work that John does. So I was thinking it was going to be this older guy out there. And I'm like, he looks way too young. This can't be him. So and it was I enjoyed just going over there and chatting with the guy. It was fun conversation. So I enjoyed it. His whole family, they're all very, very nice people.
Yep. Yeah, his daughter she does a really good job being out there, being interactive with the customers, learning.
Mm-hmm.
I could never, I've tried dragging Actually, I put Mason on a stage and he worked this weekend because he'd rather go work for Stephanie than he would for me. So I don't know what that says about Steph. I know that's the thing. The problem is she bribes him with cookies and ice cream and all this other stuff. Because I think he had I bet he had, I don't know how many cookies and how many ice creams, but he was happy to work. So that's all that counts.
Sugar always works, John. Sugar.
Yeah,
And money.
yeah,
And money.
and money. He did
Of
get
course.
paid. So yeah.
There you go. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.